Welcome back to another episode, and this time we are going to actually get the car off the rotisserie back onto some floor jacks so that we can continue working on the main frame structure, roll cage, and suspension for the car. So if you remember last episode, cut away a whack of the firewall here, and got the heating unit sort of into place. We have the suspension and subframe into place, etc. But at this point, the rotisserie really is not the best platform to be moving forward with. I got a tubing bender. They went on sale. I couldn't believe it. This never goes on sale at Princess Auto, but it went on sale. So I needed one. I bought one. I bolted it to the floor with some bolts, obviously, as opposed to bolting it to the floor with nails. And I tested it out on some 1.5-inch tubing here. I also did a quick test with some 1-inch tubing, and I am just really pleased as punch. I mean, it's not the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I mean, it does what it's supposed to do. The scale is not perfect. I measured out, I bent to 45 degrees, and when I measured, I was at about 42.5 degrees. So there's going to be a bit of a learning curve on it, a lot of testing, drawing stuff out on the floor, which we will get to for the roll cage, and while we're bending. So, but I'm happy about that. So in order to move forward now and actually start to build the roll cage and some of the other suspension, I want to make sure that my frame stays square and level, and is not twisted one way at the back and a different way at the front. And honestly, the rotisserie, I don't need to be flipping the car over again right now. I don't need to be getting done. We've got the majority of the metal work done that I needed to get done in order to start to work on this frame. So what we're going to do is we are going to take the car as it is off the rotisserie, put it back onto 4 floor jacks. We are going to level it, and we are going to start working on that front suspension, some of the crossover pieces, as well as starting to measure out and get ready to build our full roll cage. So let's tuck into that. Okay, as you can see, I have got my engine hoist set up with ratchet straps to the 4 corners-ish. And yeah, I got a bit of the weight taken off, so now it's just a case of undoing the bolts, and hopefully the front end doesn't do this. We'll see what happens, all right? Well, that actually didn't take as long as I thought it was going to. It was a little front heavy on the balance, which I kind of expected, just because of all the suspension, and I don't have the rear in yet. But as everything sits right now, this is at a much lower level now, so it's about, the cowl is about just waist height. So, and it's on 4 jacks. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to get a digital level on my main rails going front to back. And then what I will do is I will put another one on this heavy back rail that I've got going across, as well as on this one here, because I know when I first started this, everything was square, or wasn't twisted. So I want to get that so that I can just shim it up where I need to shim it up in order to make sure that my frame is actually water level, right? Because from that, I can then make sure that everything else is level to that frame. So let's get some shims on there. Let's see where it sits, and we'll go from there. Do you think we're lucky? Okay, not a word of a lie on this. I just tested this here. So let's just drop that on there. All right. And let's go to the back of the car on the underside here. We'll just go under here, and it's a little dark, but let's see if you can see that. How does that look? Can you see that? All right, now let's go to one of my frame rails just in the middle here, and let's drop that. Yeah. Can we see that? There. 0.4 degrees. I don't know what the other side is. I didn't check it, but let's go. I'll take you over there and we'll check it together. Let's see what the other side says here. Oh, let's drop this one to a rail there. And can you read that? There we are. Let's just focus that. 0. So I'm just not even gonna bother. Like I can't believe it. Like that's just luck. That's pure luck. That's the only luck that I'm gonna have now with this car. So I'm not going to worry that this one is out by 0.4 degrees and it was bouncing, at the back it was 0.25, in the middle it's 0.4. I'm going to call this level. It's level enough. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So, all right, let's see where we're moving on to from here. Well, I got a social media post on these things. Some shop had these for sale. Can't remember what they were, but I decided just to make up a set of these in CAD. Rulers with 1-inch increments, 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch, as well as radius guide for a 5-inch diameter die that lets me know how much to add extra material for my bend. So basically what I can do is I can stand these up, right? Or I can mark out my roll cage on the floor in tape. I can lay these out, and then this goes here, and as you change your angle, you can then easily add up the extra inches that you need for your pipe. Gets you a lot closer, less wasted material. The other thing it does is it allows you to quickly figure out how many degrees you're at. So every one of these large ones is 10 degrees. The half is a half degree is 5 degrees, and that's 2.5 degrees. So I'm able to pretty quickly figure out what's my bend angle for a pipe and how much pipe I actually need. So so I tossed these ones together in Illustrator, this together in SolidWorks, just printed them out and paper and glued them to some board. So we'll see how those work out for me. But right now, what I want to do is I want to take this front clip here, and I've kind of decided where I want to cut it. I want to cut along this top edge here all the way back. I need to cut just below this all the way along. I've kind of marked it out where I want to cut it. Now, what that does is that gets me the flats on the inside as well as on the top for both sides. And that should allow me to sneak that onto the inside of my frame as well as on the top of my frame. I'm going to have to do some cutting out for this jog here a little bit. I'm also going to have to remove most of this fender, and probably most of this one as well, in order for it to sit down into place as far down as it's supposed to go. There's going to be a lot of adjustments needing to be made, but the idea is that I want to try and get the topmost part of the shock tower mount here, along with room for a plate with a crossbar. I want to get it down far enough that it is below the height of the fender. I may have to remove some of the mounting for the fender and only be able to mount front, back, and I'll be customizing that. But I want to get it as low as possible so that I don't need any bumps in the fender, and my shock will hopefully fit into place without, well, it should fit into place without, bottoming out every time I hit a bump. So first things first is to get this chopped up a little bit more so that I can start to manhandle it with relative ease. I may have to use my hoist to hold it up, but I can manhandle it with relative ease into place, see what I need to cut away. I can get it down over top. I can mark things out and, half of here, half there cutting, and see if I can't get that down into place in such a way that I can actually tack it into place, tack it to the frame, tack it to the remainder of the body. Hopefully this front section isn't going to move on me. I have it bolted here. I lost the other bolt. I can't find the other one. I'm going to have to probably go pick one up because I only have long ones and they won't fit inside. So I got to sort that out just to make sure that this front doesn't move. My weld came loose here, so I'm going to have to retack that at the front, and I'm going to do a better job of it. This side held really well. So I want to make sure that this front section here is not going to move when I cut away the center part here. So if it does, I have the fenders, so I can always put the fender in place and use the fender to line everything up. I would just rather not do that. So let's start cutting. Okay, so as you can see, I just put this on my hoist. Um, it That's where it's going to line up. What I did was in my measurements, the face of this bumper lines up with the front of my new frame. It lines up parallel with my frame, and the outside of this sits on the outside of the frame, so I'll be able to attach it. Um, Something I'm really happy about is by the time I drop this down all the way, and let me go wide for you. By the time I drop this down all the way, this inner fender should match this inner fender pretty darn good. Um, I want to keep these 3 bolts here, and I want to keep those 3 because that's where the mechanicals for the ABS system mounts right to this unit. And if you remember, I kept this firewall piece because this is where the cables come through. This is the brake booster. This is the opening for the steering column, and this is the opening for the heater system. Now, I did cut it off of here, but I gotta have to customize it. It may not be in the perfect place. Likely that this whole thing is going to have to be shifted over because it's not going to, there's no way I can have my brake that far to the left. But anyway, we'll see. It may work, it may not. But at this point, you can see I have a little bit of the fender that needs to be cut away on both sides, so this can start to drop down. I'll be cutting away. I'll probably end up cutting this out. I'll cut it away from there because I want to keep the original fender mounting. So all this outside is just too much. Anyway, I got a bit of marking to do and a bit of thinking and a bit of cutting, but I'm going to think and mark, and then I'll bring you back before I cut. Right, so I have marked out some of this. I'm going to lose this part here because I want to keep as much of the original fender as I can. Don't know why, but because it gives structure to the fender. So sorry, I want to keep as much of the inner fender, the inside fender here as possible, because it gives structure to this line here. I do have to cut away some of it. The front is bolted. I was able to get another bolt in there, and I've tack welded it. I will line up the fenders before I, and strap this together so that once this goes in place, it'll be in the right place. So as you can see, I have a little bit of cutting here to do. To start with, I've got quite a bit of cutting on this to do. To start with, I'm going to remove this outer piece here. I don't need it, as well as this inner part here. I don't need. I'm going to try and keep this. It's on on both sides, because this I've actually got the rubber gasket for, and that's where all of the brake booster lines come out, so it helps mount them. And on this side, it is where the power box is mounted. And I want to keep this because that's where the cable goes to the battery through the and under the car to the trunk. And here is where all the electronics move into the engine bay. So it creates a nice sort of block there. So I'd like to hang on to that stuff, as well as it'll give me a bit of a structure here that if I need to weld that firewall on, I can. So I am going to, the other thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to cut the front of this off because I don't need it anymore. I probably should measure an exact measurement to here so that I can measure from this to the face here, get an exact measurement. That way I know for sure that I am in the right position. So anyway, I'm going to get cutting. Well, I ended up just removing the front part of the car. There was no way that I was going to be able to shimmy this thing into place, but that is where it's supposed to sit, which is nice. Now, it is actually a lot lower than I thought it was going to be. So I have a couple options here. I don't want to. I had it low to begin with. I would like it as high as I can possibly make it, and have it still fit inside or under the bonnet and the fenders. That will give me the most suspension travel possible. Now, what happened was the original frame was actually 5 inches high, and I only used 3 inches, which means that the top of this is sitting 2 inches lower because the bottom is what I registered to. So the subframe where it bolts to here, this needs to be up 2 inches. Now, I don't think that I can do 2 inches. Sitting from the top of that, I'm just 2 inches to the top where the fender bolts. And it's going to be a little higher at the front. So I'd like to leave myself a little bit of room. So what I'm thinking to do is actually take some 1x2 that I have, and I will weld on a piece of 1x2 here to actually lift this whole thing up. And that'll bring up both sides of it by the 1 inch, or at least half the distance that I've got. And I can see how that works out for me. It fits in the back really nice. Everything looks really good. It is as far back as it's supposed to be. So that is the correct geometry for the BMW. Okay, for the subframe, for the steering, for everything. And my fender is, my original fender is sitting here, and likely, and the old fender sat here. So what I'll do is I'm going to mount a tire that I'm looking at, get the suspension compressed, see how it fits, and go from there. I may end up having to remove some more of this and have this fender actually be the real inner fender. I'm not 100% sure. I know for a fact I'm going to have to cut off this here, that there's no way it's going to fit under the fender. I know that I'm going to have some tube steel going here with a tube frame attaching to this, and then probably dropping down to here. But again, that's all sort of up in the air as we're building. So as far as anything goes, I'm going to hand lift that into place, bolt it up, see how that connects up to the front, and I'll bring you back when I get that in place. Well, let me say this about that. So that's back in place. As you can see, this it's not sitting down because of this bar, but I got plenty of room there. And then up under here, it's a little hard to see, but it looks like just the back section here is touching this part of the fender. Now, this car's getting a wide body. Which, if you can see some of the chalk line that's on here, my plan was to cut this fender along this line here, all the way up to the tip here, and basically bring this out to about here, about 2 inches. Okay, was my plan, that it's going to come down and it's going to come out and then it's going to follow the regular line of the car, and there'll be a spacer here with some air fins, and it's going to come down like this and then catch in, and this is going to get extended down here to meet it like that, and then it's going to get wrapped under and filled, and I'll probably do some kind of a small running board. That's the plan. Now, the other line that I have is right here, and my thought is to cut it along that line there all the way, and then take this edge and just tilt it out. Just bring it out so that I add an extra inch here, and then it'll taper as it goes down here. So it comes out like that. Now, I have an extra set of fenders. Those ones are actually in really good shape. So my plan was to use the good skin from those fenders on the outside of this, and use this one here as an inner skin, and basically cut this back to there so that I have just this strip here that will hide the fact that there's a wide body and that you can't see in, right? Because there'll be a vent in there or something like that. Now, inside here, you can sort of see that the likelihood is that this is too low. So I'd really like to bring this up, that inch, which is basically, there you go, 1.25 inches. So, that's hanging down inch and a half, or so. Yeah, that's 1.25 inches. So basically, I need to bring that up. Now, by time I finish with the customizing, this is not going to come straight out. It's actually going to come down at a slight angle, a little bit, and then this is going to tilt and it's going to come down a little bit. I'm going to make up that 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch easy. So I'm not too worried about that having to go even higher. But I've got some offcuts. I'm going to throw a couple on there, see how that lifts it up, see what that does to my fender, and then I will decide what I'm going to do from there. But that's I'm pleased with the way that's fitting. And we're back. All right. So what I ended up doing was I ended up cutting off the bits and pieces there. So specifically on the other side, I cut off this flat here, as well as all the way along here, and some of that inner structure there, which gave me a lot of room, as you can see here. So there's plenty of room there now for me to lower this fender down, and I've raised it a full 2 inches. And as you can see, the fender will sit on here, which means that the fender bolting point where it bolts to the fender is going to be just slightly above this, and I still have this much space above that. So what I'll probably end up doing is I'll remake this and bring it, tie it into this piece as well as this one to here, and I will end up cutting a notch out of this, out of the fender, so that it'll sit down. It'll sit nice and tight, and that will allow me to bolt in to be able to access. There's one here, there's one back here, and there's one here. That'll allow me to access the bolts that hold the strut in place, but also more importantly, it'll allow me to design and make a cross brace that will go from here to here. Now, there's also in this the factory braces that go from here to the firewall. Now I have those, and they bolt onto, you can see here, there's a big heavy plate right here on the back side, right? So they bolt to that, and they go diagonally right to the center of the firewall. And I'm going to use that triangular bracing as part of the overall structure. So yeah, this is definitely starting to come together. The other thing that I want to do, we know that there's going to be a tube coming up here, and then with the windshield across here. From that one there at the bottom, I'm going to run diagonally up to here like that, and I'll probably run one straight across to here. The one going across, what I will probably do is bring it on the outside, so it'll be mounted right in, tucked in tight here. I'll put a small bend in it and run it along this here to a plate that will go on here. The one on the inside, what I'll probably do is I'll run it along the fender, or along this inner fender, and diagonal down to there. And then that's going to be able to tie back into the one that's going to run beside the seat, and then obviously one over the top on the to build the rest of the cage. So there's still a lot to do, but I would call this pretty much successfully grafting a BMW 135 front suspension system into a TR6. Well, I think that that's going to be it for this episode. We didn't get to any of the roll cage stuff. I wasn't sure, as I said at the beginning, I wasn't 100% sure what direction we were going to go, but I needed to get that front suspension sorted out before I start messing around with cutting tubes and stuff, because it's going to attach to that. So that's where we got to. Really, I'm excited about this. This is a big step. I'm really glad you stuck around till the end. If you did, if you didn't, you won't hear this, so screw you. But if you did stick around, awesome. Thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. It's going to help this channel if you want to see me doing more of this. Also, pick up one of my Hornetic units. Let you drop a second horn in your car. You tap your horn and it's just your regular horn. You hold it for more than half a second and you get a second horn. So whatever you choose to put in there, whether it's an air horn, a gauga, or a train horn, that's up to you. The unit will make it easy for you to do that. Anyways, thanks for sticking around, and see you next time.